Hello, everybody. My name is Rick McCutcheon. I'm a Dynamics 365 MVP. And today on this MS Dynamics World Expert Panel, we have a session on Redefine Supply and Demand with Microsoft's Intelligence Order Management. And it's brought to you by Mazers. Okay, off we go. And let's get started, and we'll just introduce our audience. So let's start with you, Barnelli. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Barnali Mukherjee. I'm part of the supply chain product engineering group within Microsoft, and I'm responsible for outbound product management and product growth.
Okay, thank you. Lachlan.
Yeah, hi everyone. Lachlan Cash, Principal Program Manager, work in the same team as Barnali. Been at the Dynamics channel for about 20 years while working with Microsoft around the Dynamics products. So yeah, been working on intelligent order management and supply chain products for a good number of years now. So yeah, good to be with some familiar faces.
Okay, thank you, Lachlan. Chris.
Awesome, thanks guys. Pleasure meeting you. My name is Chris Segurado. I'm a manager here at Mazars. I'm responsible for SEM, mixed reality, HoloLens, RSID, and security. I'm also Microsoft MVP as of this year, and have worked alongside Ivan in the Mazars team for a couple of years. Pleasure to be here and talking to you about IOM.
Okay, thank you. And Ivan.
Hello, everyone. Ivan Cole. I'm the managing director here at Mazars. I'm part of the Microsoft Business Applications group. I've been working with Microsoft technologies my entire career. Small fun fact, I was initially introduced to Dynamics by Satya Nadella just after the acquisition of Navision back in 2003. And we were also involved in the very first customer go live for Dynamics for retail when Microsoft first got in the game. And I'm excited to be here to talk about intelligent order management with everyone.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to start with Chris. What is Microsoft Dynamics 365 Intelligent Order Management, and how does it benefit our customers? Chris, over to you.
Awesome, thank you so much. Let me start with what actually IOM is and how it works to set the stage for this conversation or panel, and just to pick you up at a high level. What is Intelligent Order Management? It is built on top of Dataverse, so it's a Dataverse application. It shares the common data model with other Dynamics applications and lets an organization manage the orchestration of orders through the fulfillment, always determining the optimal fulfillment path. You can take advantage of different fulfillment policies and conditions, and it's also ERP agnostic, means you can connect it via provider framework to different platforms and applications. And Providers itself enables that seamless integration. Out of the box, Dynamics 365 Intelligent Order Management comes with a library of out-of-the-box providers that you can use, set up, or customize to your needs. Again, Microsoft did a great job also including functionality like the fulfillment and returns optimization provider or an inventory visibility service. BigCommerce, Avalara, so there are a couple of those that are out of the box available. The benefits of it is or has no dependency on other Dynamics 365 per se, so you can be standalone or you can run it with your existing F&O application if you want to do that. So it's ERP agnostic, the extensibility is there, scalability. You have one comprehensive view of your fulfillment and order operations, and it's a modular nature via that provider framework. I hope that picked you up at a high level, and I'll pass it on.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Ivan, what would you like to add for our business community on what the product does?
Sure. So what we've seen good use cases in terms of how it can help a client is if they have multiple legal entities and they have to make some upfront decisions about where is the right place to fulfill this order, and having that predefined logic, I shouldn't say predefined, configurable logic to determine how that order gets fulfilled. Being able to take advantage of investments Microsoft's making in, for example, the FedEx integration is a big cost savings for organization, both short-term and long-term. I also like to emphasize that when we're in the Dynamics space, there's already an existing integration through dual write through Dynamics Finance and Operations. We'll talk a little bit later, I hope, about how we help clients make those decisions about the order in which things work, but it can support organizations that have WMS operations internally or externally to 3PLs. So it's very flexible, and we hope we can provide some good insight in terms of how to leverage that in the best way.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. And I think, the key to this, that it's written Dataverse, right? So it really can move across our stack, right from F&O through to CE sales and Power Apps. So very, very flexible. Great. So Bernali, what would you like to add?
Sure. I think flexible is actually a very important word. I was actually going to use it myself, but maybe I'll switch it around a little bit. But basically, IOM is a product built on a modern open platform, and it not only allows implementers to kind of surround it around the Dynamics 365 ERP solution, but it also works with other solutions, other ERP solutions as well. And really the goal of it is to empower operational associates with the ability to make better decisions and to be more agile. With the flexibility and the orchestration that we provide, leveraging the real-time inventory visibility, as well as our AI-based fulfillment optimization.
Okay, thank you. Lachlan, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think the team covered it well. I think maybe just picking up on that flexibility and visibility, I think the key thing was, we wanted to create something because we know customers had the ability to choose the supply chain partners that they're going to work with. They're going to choose the software assets that make sense for their business. And giving that visibility of where is my order at when you're trying to connect those systems together was really the flexibility we wanted to provide. So that orchestration, as Chris and Ivan sort of mentioned, is really giving that visibility across those systems. So choose the right system that makes sense for your business, but how do you orchestrate those processes across those systems? That's really what the system was trying to provide, is that visibility of that status so that you can make the right choices for your business. So, yep.
Okay, thank you. Ivan, we're going to go to you for the next question. Over the past few years, B2B organizations went through some big changes in their sales and fulfillment processes. How did this affect their business, and why is IOM important to these changes?
That's an important question. And with competing distribution platforms and marketplaces, many of these customers were forced to expand their fulfillment and distribution integration scenarios. B2B organizations in particular had no choice but to offer a flexible self-service ordering platform. And once that order came in, the biggest challenge is, how am I going to fulfill it and be able to get the order to their customers, being able to, as Lachlan pointed out, understand where is the order and where it's coming, when is it going to arrive, is a big factor. And finding ways that we can automate the distribution logic to offer the fastest speed to market has become really the next biggest challenge. And this is really the area where IOM can help customers with advanced fulfillment, and more importantly, for the purpose of reducing the costs and with the greatest propensity to improve customer satisfaction. And Microsoft is making big investments in the partnerships to make that easier and smoother, like the example I gave earlier with FedEx, and it's become a critical component in that efficient order distribution.
Okay, thank you. Bernali, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would say that customers in a B2B scenario and world are really having the same expectations as a B2C customer. So at the end, they're customers as a whole, and they want to have visibility into what's going on with their order. Having some solutions to, if there's an order is late, being able to provide that timely and good customer service. Those customers are looking for the same thing.
Okay, great. And a lot of these B2B companies didn't want to have to be B2C companies, but they found themselves in that situation. So, this type of product, I think, is going to help them a lot. So, Lachlan, what would you like to add?
I'll use the word Bernali used before, which is agility, and I think you picked on it right, Rick, in terms of, we see companies trying to use whatever channel makes sense for their business. and therefore the order flow through those different channels, has different attributes that drive the flow of that order. And that's when we wanted to provide that flexibility and that agility to say, I can change that order flow no matter where the channel is. I can change my rules, configure my rules, provide optimizations, and drive that order through where it needs to go. So we give that visibility. So yeah, multiple channels, not just B2B. We saw customers struggling with that, evolving their businesses, having to adapt those different software assets for those different channels. And we wanted that one system to give that visibility across all those channels. So that was really the key to it.
Okay, thank you. Chris, what would you like to add?
Of course, I want to add on the word changes and organizational changes that happened over the past couple of years, right? There were many external factors, as we know, over the last couple of years. With, for example, curbside, there were new COVID, there were new fulfillment channels. For example, curbside pickup. The consumer demand behavior changed. Additional Gen Z bases more their purchasing decision on timing and when an order actually arrives. I mean, how often do we check the estimated time when a package should arrive before we actually place the order? I do it all the time. There are many changes, issues, obstacles that companies are facing in that regard, or there's a shortage of certain products. So how do we react? How can we tackle that from a planning standpoint? So IOM, I think, comes handy here and addresses a need or that need to make the operational fulfillment orchestration more efficient and act proactively instead of reacting.
Okay, great. So it looks like IOM is really filling in the seams between a lot of different applications. So let's get into our next question, and I'm going to start with you, Bernali. Let's talk about some use cases for IOM and what types of clients and industries are a best fit.
Yeah, from a use case perspective, really flexibility is really important. So if you have a business where fulfillment decisions need to be made on limited inventory, but you want the flexibility to be able to handle those fulfillment decisions based on categories of customers or channel partners and different channel partners that you have, IOM has that flexibility for you to actually orchestrate the journey and create the rules and kind of orchestrate the steps that are needed, as well as optimization needed to meet the order. So that's really kind of a generic way of saying that. Basically, when you need to make better fulfillment decisions across your entire fulfillment network, IOM is a good fit for that, as well as the inventory visibility and order visibility throughout the process as well. From an industry perspective, I would say we are pretty open. From an industry perspective, we can actually manage use cases for different industries. Of course, there's the regular retail and CPG and manufacturing, which we are really a good fit for from a B2C as well as B2B perspective.
Okay, thank you. Lachlan, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I think Bernardo covered it quite well. I think, just picking up on those patterns of, as you mentioned, we're quite open from an industry perspective. Definitely companies that have different inventory needs. It's really about giving that visibility of inventory. And this gets back to the channel where we saw customers that had different systems for each channel. So how do I have that visibility of my inventory across those channels? So that where we were seeing customers, as Bernali said, retail, consumer goods, industries, but we also see that, in terms of high tech, automotive. The space is quite varied in terms of where we see customers with the same problem. Also in terms of companies that have had organizational change, we've seen this where companies have acquired other companies, and so internally you've now got multiple systems, but you want to provide a single view to your new customer and not let them see the internal complexities of your system. So providing a system that can front those systems and direct where that order needs to go into your multiple backend ERPs, that's a common pattern that we've also sort of seen with customers in different industries as well, where they're dealing with that change that they need to get around.
And I think that's a good point, especially in Dynamics, because we do so much SMB mid-market. type deployments that we're running into a lot of situations where, we're in the middle of an acquisition of 5 companies rolling up into one ERP system. So that excellent example. Chris, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I mean, I can just add on what Lachlan just said. A use case where IOM comes handy is when orders originate in different systems, such as e-commerce systems, point of sale systems, EDI, or CRM systems, and you can have that consolidated single view of orders in IOM and orchestrate from there comprehensively. I think that's a big strength or a handy use case. And also, as addressed prior, that means if you're currently not running potentially Dynamics 365 F&O as your backbone ERP, you're running potentially SAP or other solutions, IOM could still be a play for you and help you to run your operations more efficiently. I think that's a big strength of IOM. From an industry perspective, similar as addressed, we heard interest from various industries, commerce, manufacturing. So it is not industry specific per se. I think we are flexible here, just to pick up the word flexibility again.
Okay, thank you. Ivan, what would you like to add?
Organizations that have multiple legal entities and they have to make that upfront decision point to determine, where is the right place to fulfill this order, and having that advanced logic up front, I think, is a great example. As you look at where your phases are of your implementation, many customers, they want a completely integrated system. For sure, they don't always have the luxury, so they have many disparate systems and they have to connect them all together. But as you look at your phases of implementation, there's an argument that can be made that if you need what IOM offers, doing that as an implementation up front can save time to market, time to accessibility to those features. So there's an argument to be made there. But at the same time, if your plan is to implement Dynamics 365 Commerce or Advanced Warehouse Management, one of our call-outs is to organize the phases to make sure you have the smoothest downstream implementation effect. So example might be if you can start with your product configuration in Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations using dual right to sync that back. The heavy lifting is done, and it's easier to then integrate back and forth. So one of the things that we help clients do is help figure out what are those proper integration points and what is the most optimal phasing to get the most value in the fastest way.
Okay, thank you. Our next question, we're going to start with you again, Bernali. What are the key areas of functionality within IOM, and what does the future of the product look like?
Yeah, so I think what we've focused on recently is really continuing to add to our ecosystem of providers. So that's one key aspect, whether it's order intake system, delivery provider system, other types of systems. We're continuously to evolve and expand the partner ecosystem and provider ecosystem when it comes to the IOM. Involvement and improvements to the orchestration capabilities as well. So expanding the scale and horizon of our orchestration capabilities. That's another important kind of continuous improvement as well. And then, of course, our optimization. There's always tweaking and improvements and additional constraints that you can add to optimization as a whole, our AI-based optimization. So we are doing that as well. And really, the future and where we're going is just kind of evolving, getting deeper and scaling our orchestration more to support expanded B2B use cases. That is an area that we are going in as well.
Okay, thank you. Chris, anything you'd like to add about functionality?
From a key area of functionality standpoint, I mean, for me, the main points are the provider framework, as mentioned, optimization, and then the fulfillment policies and strategies. We already addressed those in detail, so I will not go further into detail here. But from what was just said, how the future looks like, I mean, Microsoft, our friends from Microsoft, will probably be better to answer that question. But what I saw, or looking at the roadmap and looking what Microsoft did over the last couple months on IOM, we saw that additionally providers were onboarded, what is great, but it makes it easier to implement and connect it to external systems. This is, I think, the key point of IOM, the key strength.
Okay, thank you. Ivan.
Sure. So focus on integrations such as FedEx are a big time in cost savings. We want to see more of that. The one area that I'll point out is that when you're figuring out how to integrate with e-commerce sites, and if you're planning on using Dynamics Commerce, then there could be an argument that the phasing of getting orders in through the Commerce Runtime Service, getting the payment token associated to make it easier and smoother on the fulfillment process is a good thing to consider. But if you look at Microsoft's roadmap, they're planning on architecture for intake of orders from any e-commerce system. So that'll make things easier, especially if a customer has multiple websites, many of them maybe not Microsoft Dynamics websites, and they have to integrate from all different sources. So having that on the roadmap, I think, is going to be a great help.
Okay, thank you. Lachlan.
Yeah, I think Ivan actually covered a really good point in that, Microsoft across our assets, we're trying to give you that componentized choice. We do have a really good commerce solution from that e-commerce, as Ivan mentioned, fully integrated payments all the way through, and that's integrated to our, Dynamics customers all the way through. So we have a complete solution there. What we're trying to provide with all of our software solutions is giving customers that flexibility. And so you'll see that in the roadmap where we're really trying to use that Power Platform and enabling customers to have that choice of flexibility where they can, plug into the assets that they have. So as Benali mentioned, like we've been sort of talking about through this discussion, IOM, we've been talking about sales orders, but enabling the purchase order so you can look at the supply side of that order coming in is also an important advancement, because then you can start to make additional fulfillment optimization decisions, not only about inventory you have, but also about what's coming, and therefore start to make predictions around that. So that's where we want to sort of open up that visibility on both the demand and the supply side. So those are important progressions for us.
Thank you. And that is a great segue to our next question, because Chris and I have just come back from the user group conference, and we were there together talking to customers about what they have, right? And not all the time what they have is exactly what we want to work with. So, and sometimes that's not what they want to work with either, it's what they have. So Chris, what advice can you give organizations looking to work with IOM for the first time?
From a general advice perspective, what is nothing new, a solution blueprint for IOM type of engagements are super crucial. Why? How does IOM suit in a timeline, in the current system landscape? What is the end goal of a digital transformation? What external systems do we have? Is there a provider? Do we have F&O? Do we need to do right? Do we have multiple legal entities? Those kind of data points are important to be identified ahead of time and bring into a consolidated strategic implementation plan and incorporate in the blueprint. So from a general advice standpoint, I think this is an important piece for every implementation, but especially for IOM that connects to different external sources. And that's how we at Mazars also approach those type of engagements.
Okay, thank you. Ivan, how can you help first timers?
Sure. Well, I think you've heard me use the word road mapping, and we think it's really important to plan out where you are today and where you need to go. And we've seen all sorts of different scenarios where somebody might have SAP or Oracle and they need to integrate to a centralized order management system. It's a much easier decision to make if they're using Dynamics Commerce or F&O, or they're planning to use those features in the future, or they're planning to implement advanced WMS, at least in one distribution center. Planning and road mapping is, I think, one of the key aspects, because if somebody has F&O already running and Commerce already running, the good news is a lot of the heavy lifting is done. So once we use dual write and sync back to Dataverse, then the solution sits right on top of that and leverages all that data that you already have configured and set up. So there's a real speed to market if you already have Dynamics Commerce in place. And I know a lot of our audience are Dynamics customers, so that's the good news. But if you're not there, I think the key is to help plan those phases to avoid any downstream rework or minimize it in any way possible.
And, work with a partner that knows what they're doing. So this is why we brought Ivan and Chris here today, because, there's nothing worse as an MVP getting there after it's been all put together, right? To say, well, this is what we need to do. So I think planning and working with the right partner are critical. And I'm going to ask Lachlan that if there's anything he wants to add about someone getting started.
No, I think Ivan and Rick, you picked up on it well. Essentially we give you a lot of tools with the IOM product. The ability to design orchestrations, but someone needs to go through that business process analysis and help you design that. So it is really key, and that's really key to the product. We wanted to give that flexibility for technical integrations, but also the business process organization. So you have that toolbox, and it's definitely worth spending the time to understand how that platform works. Working with the partner to understand it, so you can get the best out of that toolbox for sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Bernali, anything to add?
Yeah, I think everyone made some really good points. I think really being focused on the as-is and where you want to go from a journey perspective, and understanding the goals of the program from an implementation perspective is really important. And then step by step kind of gearing towards that, and having a better understanding of the different types of capabilities that you can leverage. So there's capabilities of the underlying platform, teams, and other things that you can all work to your benefit as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Now, we're going to close things off with, some closing remarks, but I've got to say that this has been an outstanding panel from a perspective of, I think, educating the audience about intelligent order management and where it fits, into the project they're working on or the project they're planning. So, Lachlan, is there anything you'd like to close with?
No, I always tough when you get an open question. I think it sort of comes back to the barrier of choice sort of thing, right? And that was kind of why we wanted to add another asset, right? Which is, give customers choice in terms of what's the right tool for, that they need to sort of solve the problem they're going to do. And so that's really why IOM was designed for. So, give you that componentized choice of, within our Dynamics ecosystem of applications, you have a lot of choice, and it's just giving you another tool to evaluate in terms of what makes sense for your business strategy, where you're trying to drive it forward and solve those problems. So, yeah, that's probably my last point. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Bernali.
Yeah, I would say thanks to everyone for attending today. I think flexibility is important, as Lachlan was referring to, and having the choice and not having to necessarily rip and replace, but make the best of the different solutions you have with leveraging the benefits of IOM is a key message that I want everyone to kind of go out with. And of course, we have the orchestration and the optimization capabilities to enable you to continuously improve your operations.
Okay, thank you. Chris.
Yeah, as a closing remark from my end, I hope you hear that IOM is a very exciting product that has a lot of features to offer to make your fulfillment operations more efficient and competitive. And again, via that system agnostic nature and the provider framework, it's even more beautiful. I hope we could add value to you and create awareness around IOM and Microsoft's vision with IOM and how we as Mazars support IOM type of engagement. So thanks, Rick and Microsoft Dynamics World. Thanks, Microsoft, for making the time and joining. And yeah, attendees, if there's any question or any comments or interest in IOM, please reach out.
Okay, Chris and Ivan, the last question, I guess, or statement we're going to make is going to go over to you. Ivan, now that we've talked about how to get intelligent order management right, tell us how Mazars can assist customers to achieve their business goals.
Well, thanks for that opportunity. You've heard me talk a lot about road mapping, and I think this is one of the areas I think we can help a lot of clients with. Imagine the day when your orders come into Dynamics e-commerce and F&O, and then we sync them out to intelligent order management. You get the most efficient distribution, and then that same system has our contact center, and any customer complaints or inquiries are that same Dataverse environment that things are seamlessly working together. Of course, that's our nirvana, but As we know, many customers aren't there yet. They have some existing technical debt that they have to deal with. So our ability to help them plan and roadmap, I think, is going to be important. We've done a couple of recorded sessions on our commerce envisioning and road mapping sessions that might be useful to watch, and we've written a couple of blogs as well on that we can provide for anyone interested in going down that path. We also leverage the Microsoft Catalyst framework to help customers also determine, what are the priorities to their business. Many customers first need e-commerce, others need supply chain first. How do we order these? How do we determine what the priorities are? And also leveraging the business value assessment so that you can determine what are the key driving metrics that will help justify the ROI of these integrated and more efficient systems in the future.
Okay, thank you, Ivan. And I want to thank our panel again for an outstanding conversation on IOM. And we'll be back to you at some point in the future to find out more about this very interesting product. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.